birthday dandelions. If you feel lonely, space is never empty in Slavic mythology. There is always a spirit in every corner and spot of the world. It is impossible to take a break from the spiritual crowd for introverts. Maybe hiding in the house is an option. Do you think that the house is your space, your castle? No. Your household and all the infrastructure that goes with it has a decent spiritual crowd. Barn, backyard, storage shield, you name it. They all have a spirit assigned to them. In general, most Slavic household spirits are tiny anthropomorphic beings that perform the functions of the part of the household they represent. Their appearance varies, but mostly they are small and look like blank from which. Forgive my nostalgia. In this episode, we are going to learn about a few of many spirits that live next to you in the household and how to get along with your invisible neighbors for the future reference. Domovoy. There is no Slavic house without Domovoy. The noun dom means home, which gives a thorough hint at the nature of this spirit. Domovoy is the kind and caring soul of the house, the most people-friendly creature from today's list. Domovoy is the soul of a deceased family member or a sacrificial animal spirit that stayed in Yav to protect the family. In another version, Domovoy is one of many fallen angels who live in the human world. This version brings a lot of questions to me. For instance, each household has a pack of spirits. Each forest and lake has its own Leshy and Vodinoy. That is a lot of fallen angels, don't you think? There is also a version of the army of Veles, of which all these spirits are a part. Anyway, Domovoy is the guardian of the family and the well-being of the home. He helps in everyday life, protects the house from all kinds of evil, and watches over pets. Domovoy always walks barefoot, since the house is his territory. He is described as a small old man, or he takes the form of a small copy of a family member. Additionally, this clumsy spirit can transform into any living creature and thing. Domovoy has a family, wife Domovicha and kids Domovyata, whose number corresponds to the number of people living in the house. In a house where there are no men, Domovicha will be the only spirit protecting the household. For the sake of a good relationship with Domovicha, it is important to keep the house clean. If your house is wealthy, you get along with Domovoy pretty well. He guards your house against thieves and helps the family to prosper. The Slavs left small gifts for Domovoy in different parts of the house: bread with salt or pancakes, porridge, eggs, snuff, and colored scraps. Domovoy makes a mess when he isn't happy. However, Domovoy would never misbehave in a healthy household. His tantrums are an indicator that family members don't respect each other. If things with Domovoy go nuts, praying, swearing, and mirrors can calm him down. Domovoy lives in the corner behind the stove called pech. It was a vital part of the household and was considered the center of the house. If a family moves, they will bring the Domovoy to the new place, with ritual bread and salt. Seeing Domovoy in person means the bad news is coming to the house. Before the devastating event, like a disaster, fire, or war, Domovoys of all houses in a town would gather outside for a meeting and howl. It's called Domovoy's cry. Jirovik. Watch out for your dishes, because this Slavic house spirit is after your leftovers. You can find Jirovik near the warmest parts of the house, like a stove. This invisible spirit is generally harmless to people, but its habits are, to put it mildly, very peculiar. This spirit is known for the licking house owner's plates. I know it sounds gross. It is gross. Let me explain. His name originates from the noun жир, which means fat or sometimes cooking grease. Also, the verb жирует means a person who lives happily and richly, because extra pounds were associated with wealth back then. During the day, Jirovik is in the kitchen, trying to sneak and lick people's freshly baked food. Ew! During the night, he licks plates with his big rough tongue. Don't wonder why we keep dishes in the glass cabinet away from this spirit. I'm kidding. Dishes in the glass cabinet are untouchable. Don't dare to breathe next to them. If you leave your dinner dishes overnight, they are most likely to be licked by Jirovik the same night. I would rather wash dishes myself than for them to be licked. In some East European areas, Jirovik and Domovoy are one merged spirit. Ovinnik. In the Slavic household, there was a building called Ovin, where straw dried. Guess what? It had a spirit supervisor, Ovinnik. Ovinnik is described as a small grumpy old man, or a fuzzy creature with glowing multicolored eyes. He can transform into animals and humans like Domovoy. Besides, Ovinnik has a partner, Ovinnica. She also would be referred to during the ritual entrance prayer. The Ovin's nature, where fires were a common occurrence in the life of the Slavs, determined the complex attitude of this spirit. On one hand, Ovinnik protects the barn and the bread from bad things happening, and helps take care of the sheaves and the grain in the oven. He is there to scare the dark spirits away, and frequently has conflicts with Bannik. On the other hand, if Ovinnik is mad at the house owners for the negligent attitude to sheaves or the lack of respect, he can burn the barn. If you frequently mention the spirit without a proper reason, he will get annoyed and will make a terrible mess in his territory. And if you work in the oven during certain holidays, you are in trouble. The first sheaf brought from the field was thrown into the fire as a gift to Ovinnik. Also, Slavs sacrificed a rooster or pies to this spirit. Slavs would stay away from the barn as much as possible. Hardly anyone would risk staying there overnight without Ovinnik's permission. If a fire did happen, it was attributed to the mischief of the other Ovinnik, who deliberately set the barn on fire. It's like the grass is always greener on the other side, but Slavic style. However, this is a walk in the park compared to our next spirit. The most dangerous location in the household was Banya, where ironically Slavs would clean and heal themselves. Bannik. Did you hear about the famous Russian sauna where you are kicked with a birch broom? It's called Banya. Banya, like many other important places in the life of Slavs, has its supervisor in the spiritual world, Bannik. Bannik is quite a controversial spirit. He is known as Banya's devil, Banya's master, and one of the evil house spirits. His ambivalent nature represents the nature of Banya itself, which was associated with dark magic and the underworld. It was a separate building in the household, where Slavs removed dirt and sins, had a sort of rebirth, and actual birth too. Since bathing is an intimate process, many bad spirits try to sneak to Banya to take advantage of the moment. This is where Bannik comes on the scene. Usually invisible to people, Bannik hides in a pile of broomsticks, behind the stove or under the shelf. Generally, Bannik is described as an anthropomorphic old man, with birch leaves in his hair. However, the spirit can shapeshift to any human, and create hallucinations. No one knows what he looks like, and you don't want to find out why. Behaving loud in Banya, showing up drunk or late. The night was Bannik's time. Bannik usually invites bros for a party, or has a bath himself. People who came to the Banya at night suffered a sad fate. Let me tell you, Bannik has a lot of ways to torture people that piss him off. Peeling off the skin, scalding people with boiling water, or making them faint with heat, and throwing stones. That is enough to make a horror movie. The only way to save yourself from Bannik's anger was to pray and to leave Banya as soon as possible. Why wouldn't you get rid of Bannik if he's so dangerous? First of all, he can save you from other spirits. Also, Bannik is a part of many fortune-telling rituals. He helps people to predict the future. Before Slavs would enter the Banya, they asked Bannik's permission and would casually sacrifice him a black chicken. Additionally, after each session, it was common sense to leave a bucket of water, a bar of soap, and a birch broom for Bannik. Besides obvious health benefits, Banya has a sacred meaning. Banya is the place where humans are created. Literally. My ancestors, especially in rural areas, would give birth in Banya. After the childbirth, Banya would be used as a nursery room for a couple of days. That's why we have Banicha. Banicha or Bannica is a kind female spirit, a spiritual midwife that protected a mother and a child. The ancient custom didn't disappear with time. After the baptism of Rus, people would still come to Banya to recreate and heal. However, Slavs would take off their crosses to avoid conflict with the spirit. The tradition is still alive today. A few honorable mentions before we close today's list. Jirovik, the spirit of your backyard, Ovinnik, the spirit of a barn, and Rizhnik, the spirit of threshing barn. Also, if my memory serves me right, you already have learned about Kikimora in one of the previous episodes. Barabashka. Barabashka is a relatively new addition to the mythology team, the Slavic poltergeist. The first mention of this spirit was in 1988, and this urban legend became an irreplaceable part of the folklore since then. Unfortunately, Barabashka isn't a quiet neighbor. This invisible spirit, except kids and animals can see him, is the source of all annoying noise in the house. He is more of a temporary spirit. Barabashka shows up in troubled house as Kikimora does. Once peace is restored, Barabashka leaves. The Slavic poltergeist is described as a ball of wool. He feeds on people's negative energy. Having one in the house can lead to a toxic environment. Living in constant noise pollution or on high alert that Barabashka moved your things doesn't sound fun to me at all. The sooner you fix mental health issues, the sooner Barabashka leaves. If he stays in the household for a while, people are destined to have depression. Domovoy is usually there to protect the family from Barabashka's mischiefs. We came to the end of our list. Are you paranoid right now? Are you running around your place, leaving treats for invisible neighbors in all corners? Did you spot any of those spirits in your place? Believe it or not, it's up to you. I'm sorry that I disappeared from the channel. Many things are going on in my life, to say the least, and I had to prioritize it over YouTube. Until the end of spring, I will be able to produce only one video per month. I hope to pick up on the channel this summer. Don't miss me too much, I won't be away forever. And if you wish to support the channel, here is a link for the tea. Stay safe, dandelions.